Why, hello. It is I, Chris Brogan, and we are here live just to see. There's no real reason, there's no agenda. We don't have to do anything. I'm just here. I thought if you wanted to come and talk live with me, and if you were around and you were thinking, hey, it's Sunday, I should hang out and see my pal Chris, well, then here I am. And if not, then I probably won't keep this on my channel. Like, I probably will delete the live talk unless for some reason it gets nice and lively. But I figured we could talk about whatever you wanted to with regards to photography, cameras, mental health, whatever turns you on. But because it's a live show, it's you have to make it with me. Like, you have to comment, you have to interact. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself, which I am incredibly good at talking to myself. I have decades of experience and I do it every day. But if you're here, you get to guide the show. And so I was hoping we could talk about whatever you wanted to talk about with regards to photography, cameras, mental health. Photography is meditation, regular meditation, whatever makes you happy. But you have to chat. You have to say hi in chat, and then we can talk. Otherwise, it's just like watching a strange, fuzzy human in a fishbowl. It gets awkward really fast. So we have no story without any talk. I was going to say I'm really happy for everyone who tuned into the video that I did today earlier, which was a release about going out and asking people for street photography portraits. That was really fun. I had such a great experience. I did that yesterday on Valentine's Day, which I didn't mention in the video. I mentioned that it was on Valentine's Day, but what I didn't mention in the video is that that's another way to make people behave a certain way, is because if everybody's in kind of a good mood because it's some type of holiday, then you can also get a lot more people to say yes because they're feeling sort of peppy. So who's here watching live? Feel free to say hello, because I don't know. I see the number of people, but it doesn't say, Bob's tuning in from wherever Bob is from. Bob's fictional. So I can answer questions on a couple of cameras that I've had a chance to mess around with the most in my life. If you want to talk actual camera and gears, I can answer some of the things you've always wondered. I can also interact and talk about your thoughts, your feelings, hopes, and whatnot. There we go. Hey, Chris and Bob and Jack, how are you? Atlanta. Gosh, I like it down in Atlanta. It can be delightfully hot in Hotlanta, can't it? It's a place I've gone to a whole bunch of times. I've had an opportunity to talk to, what's his name? Gillespie, the guy who was in the Top Chef show, and he did so great. And he came down to like second place. And I got to eat at his restaurant once a long time back. It was a super good experience. And I just by absolute magic ended up showing up there on the night that it was going to be revealed to the whole rest of the world that he did not win the Top Chef. And he was so gracious and so kind and so friendly. And all I thought was, here he is live in public on the evening where he is about to, have lost this important competition. And the grace that he was providing to be in his restaurant and just be who he was so cool. I also got a really great tour of the aquarium in Atlanta when I was down there. And it was funny because I guess this is a thing they offer to people sometimes, which is that if you want, you can go and be in the fish tank at the Atlanta aquarium. And I said, gee, I don't think I want to. I'm a little worried. Like, don't they want to eat what's in the fish tank? Like, there's a bunch of sharks in that tank. And the young lady who was talking about why it would be totally safe and totally cool said, nah, that doesn't happen. And then somewhere a little later in the tour, I asked the question a different way. I said, do the sharks ever just eat some of the other fish in the tank? She goes, well, snacks happen. And I was like, I have dodged a bullet. But, there's all these adventures that I have been around for, but didn't get to experience back when I wasn't taking photos as seriously as I am now. And I always think about that. You try never to have regrets in life, right? Regrets are a crappy way to live a life. And I find that, like, I think to myself, man, it would really stink uh, if I never got the chance to go back and snap some places now that I'm doing a lot more photography. But Atlanta, definitely. I mean, Coke headquarters, I would have definitely loved to get some pictures in there when I was doing a little job for Coke. Would have been fun. Hey, Gord, welcome on in. The conversation's wide open. We're talking about photography. We're talking about cameras, mental health, whatever you want to do. The show will only work if people ask me questions or talk to me about the things that are on their mind, though. Otherwise, it'll just be an old man refilling his pill containers, and that's an awkward show. And I'll delete it really fast because what the hell? What are we even doing here? I want to thank you all because every name that I see here right now are really wonderful people who come and comment on my posts a lot. And it turns out, I didn't know this. I mean, I guess I should have. Turns out that the YouTube algorithm really loves comments. I had no idea. And so, even better than a subscribe, I guess YouTube as a system says, man, I don't know, that Brogan guy, he sure gets a lot of comments. And so, for reasons related to their super spaceman algorithms, that means that they show my stuff to a lot more people purely because you are kind enough to leave me comments. So I'm very grateful for that. You know, I have a question for everybody who's here live anyway. Are you the kind of person who reads photo books? I have a lot of times people ask me, and I find especially kind of younger folks, let's say anywhere from their 20s to their late 40s, I wonder if you read photo books, because a lot of people are getting all of their insight just from Instagram and or YouTube. And I just find that so wild, considering that there's just so much stuff that existed long before Instagram and whatnot that doesn't get as represented. So for instance, following people like Saul Leiter and that sort of a thing. So I find it interesting that not as many people are deep into the photo book culture. And I'm just curious if you are also a photo book person, or am I like way by myself on this limb? 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. I have all my drugs. So are you a photo book person? A long time ago, says Gord. Jack says, I'm 65 and I've read a lot of photo books over the years, some tutorials, some more philosophical, like Guy Tal. That's interesting. Yeah, no, I have, for what I own versus, I take a lot of them out of the library. So for instance, I have Saul Leiter's book out right now on color, and it's about Saul's earlier work doing color. So way less saturated type stuff. It's almost like before Kodachrome or something. That one's kind of saturated. But when you go way back to the earlier stuff, I was quite surprised, you know, that there was so much of it that was, unless maybe it's just the way it's printed in this book, I was quite surprised that it just wasn't as super colory as what you would think about Saul Leiter's work. But yeah, I find it interesting that so many people don't dig into photo books because, I mean, when we look at something on a screen, it doesn't quite always feel the same way. We can't stand still with it. We can't really dig in. And I find that you can watch as many YouTube videos as you want about photography, but you really can't get the same feeling as it when you can really pour over something and really look at it. I'm also curious, in general, when it comes to people getting their inspirations, I mean, it's so wild that like art and artistry is and always has been about picking up inspiration from other people. Like you kind of have conversations with other creatives, and by conversation, I don't even just mean chit chat, but I mean that, you know, someone takes a kind of picture this way and you go, I could do that picture, but I would do it a little different. And then you go do yours. And I find that so interesting. I find it so interesting that people don't do it as much. Gord says that's why I've been printing them. You know, related to that, I was out to my dad's house. My dad lives in Las Vegas, and I was grabbing just old snaps, a lot of them about me, from the photo collection. So that's me with the stripy Where's Waldo looking shirt and my little brother on my grandparents' cupboard in Augusta, Maine. next to some potato chips. This is me next to, I don't even know what's on the plate, maybe a cake. You can see I had a life connected with food. Me in a go-kart somewhere up in New Hampshire, I think. Very ambling child. Wow, the 1970s sure were a thing for humans, weren't they? So I think with Gord's point of view, printing, I think, makes just such a difference. It is so amazing to me that, once we have the chance to print things. By the way, the least viewed thing I have put up on my channel in months and months and months was a video about printing stuff. So I don't know. I didn't capture your attention with it for sure, but I think printing is definitely part of the storyline. I have a Canon Selfie CP15100, like 12 inches from this screen. And I also have printing. I can go out to, for instance, Staples nearby, does really decent prints. So I find it very interesting. So I was also curious with regards to you, what other channels do you watch in the photography category? Like, who else do you like out there? Or what non-photography ones are you watching out there? What's connecting with you? I'm just curious because, one, maybe you know something I don't know, or two, I'm just curious to know, like, who else lines up in your, like, who else are you giving your time to? Just super curious about this. And in the absence of a response to that, but I would love to hear who else you listen to. I'll tell you some of mine. So I have a whole lot of subscriptions to a whole lot of YouTube channels. I had a YouTube account, or still have a YouTube account, which is youtube.com/Chris Brogan. And what I did there was, I've had that account since 2005. So I started this photography channel on a new channel because I was under the impression that YouTube was probably thinking, man, this dude has had this many people, he's been around for this many years and no one cares about him. We're not going to ever give him attention. So it was true. I started a brand new channel. I got some attention that I had not gotten for a million years. But people I subscribe to in the photography realm, Artie Lee, I've talked about a lot on the show. Tim Norris, I've talked about. Tim's InstaWorld, another Tim. Developing Tank, who's a guy, he's based out in Asia somewhere, Taiwan, Vietnam maybe. And he does really good photo book reviews and that sort of a thing. Tatiana Hopper, she does incredible reviews of other, kind of famous photographers and also filmmakers on her second channel, Hopper V2. Matthew Ruderman, the Justine Files. I think she's just got such a dreamy little vlog thing going on. I get a kick out of Camera Conspiracies, which you probably also do. One that you maybe don't know this name of, I forget what his name used to be, and he changed it up, but it's called Mike Casual and Woodstock, and it's about it's more like filming than it is photography, but he talks about how to get like really cinematic looks and that sort of a thing. Jack says, I watch a lot of landscape photographers, Nigel Danson, Henry Turner, Ian Worth, Gavin Newsom, Photo Tripper. Yeah, so Photo Tripper is the only one I knew out of that whole pile you gave me. I thought of wildlife photographer Simon D'Entremont. And of course, Artie Lee does seascapes, and Clueless YouTuber Goes Out over in Hong Kong makes some really good ones as well. Hey, up in Belfast. Hey, I'm going to be in Belfast. I think it's October. I think I'm heading up your way in October. You're going to have to tell me where to go out and get some shots. Gord says I do all those lots of Leica stuff. Oh, so for the photography channels. So Hugh Brown, probably 3 Blind Men and an Elephant. Walk with Like Alice. I'm trying to think who else are the Leica guys. Benj Haish. Some of those people probably. That's amazing how many of these things I have in my head. Oh, Polly B, who does a lot of street photography people. Polly B covers a lot of film people as well, like printing film type people. Omar Gonzalez. Kenneth Stewart's a new one to me. Sean Rayford, who's a photojournalist type. Benj Haish, Roman Fox. Eduardo Ortiz, who I found through, what's his name? Another Tim. Rick Bebbington. Mark Weimels, Mark Bennett camera, Peter Forsgaard, Robin Wong. Any Robin Wong fans watching live? Oh my gosh. I watch Robin Wong for the first 30 seconds. I could shut it off afterwards, but I just let it play because I like him. But I just like his very breathy, great, warm introduction. When Robin says, I'm a photographer from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I do that impression to myself randomly, and nobody knows what I'm talking about. Jack knows. Art and adventure. Oh, I think I've seen one. Kim Grant. Oh, yes. Kim Grant has been recommended to me, probably by you. Paul Reed. Paul Reed does a lot of Leica stuff, Gord. Maddie Solanto. Let's get right into the business. All my horrible impressions of these people. That's so funny. Petapixel, of course. Oh, Cameron Noob. I don't know if you've seen her, April. Gosh, I think she's so fun. She's, I think, just a hoot. Cameron Noob. And I think that's most. I feel like I'm going to say that, and there's like still like 1,000 more people that I haven't mentioned. I subscribe to a lot of people. I am a little crazy. Yeah, that's enough for now. But I subscribe to about a few hundred different channels, about 100 plus of which are photography channels. So Paul Reed, yep. Yeah, see, so I think that's interesting in its own right, though, don't you? Like, it's interesting that we get some kind of energy from being around people who like the things that we like, right? I think that it's fun to me that you can walk into a place and there is sort of insider language. Do you know, if you say F8 and everything's great in photography, people know. If you have to roll a saving throw, then that means you probably have played some Dungeons and Dragons. You know, there's 26.2 if you are a marathoner. There's all these like insider language bits that are fun. And I think in general, we people tend to feel better when there's a little less friction about the kinds of things that we're into. And especially in something like a hobby like photography, you can find yourself, you want so much to have a conversation about, you're never going to understand it, but the Helios 44M had 3 primary foundries, and there's the one that's in the KMZ foundry, and then there's the other one that's the foundry that's less popular. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the names anymore. I used to know them inside and out, but the one to get is KMZ. And you'll find yourself having these like ridiculous conversations with mortals who are just trying to leave the room because you're so excited about something that they have no interest in the world. But when you talk about like an old Soviet era lens, like I was meeting up with Joey yesterday, and so this is the Helios 44M. There's the Helios 44-2, which is a lot more popular. He had a way earlier prototype Helios that had 14 blades. It was the most insane thing in the world, and it was so beautiful. I put a photo up in my most recent video that comes from that lens, and I was just like, this is amazing. But you can't have that talk with like a civilian. They will, you're so crazy. And you just feel like I really can't have these talks. It's really fun. My friend Carrie, who I go out with a lot to take photos, because we'll go get coffee in the morning together and work in and around each other a lot of times. And she's a co-host of my other show on Fridays on my other channel called The Backpack Show. Carrie will say things back to me that she knows are some of my photography things to be funny and sort of tease me about them. Like we'll pull up to something that we're thinking about that I want to take a photo of or something, and she'll go, did you bring the right lens? Because my sort of obsession with minimalism or just one lens, a lot of times I will not have the right lens and will be like somewhere where I might need 300 millimeters and I'll have just a 35 in my pocket. Or I will have only a 70 to 300 on my old D700, and she'll be like, you want to go do street? And I'll be like, I can't. 70 at the short end is not going to be a great street photography experience. I mean, it'll be a challenge. I've tried it before. I did once with 85 on a Fujifilm. And, on my Sony, on my A7 IV. and I was horrible. I was so bad at trying to do 85 for street photography. I could do 85 for like things I wanted to isolate photography, but I couldn't just like quick snap a bunch of people walking down the street or anything like that with an 85 millimeter focal range. So that's another reason to hang out with and around photography types, is because you can mention weird stuff that you're into and get a little bit of reinforcement and that sense of you're not as crazy as you probably think you are. I mean, you're still crazy, don't get me wrong, but you're not as crazy as you think you are. As Jack points out, that's most of my conversations. So, like I said, if you don't comment, I don't know you're here, so please feel free to say something, and we'll keep the conversation going. I'll probably wrap it up in a little bit. We've been at it 20 minutes or so. It was just fun. I just thought maybe I'd swing by and see what you were doing. I know that you're off doing other stuff yourself. It's the weekend, so you might have family around, but this might have been that pocket of time where everybody's on their own devices. You know, there's that expression, it was left to our own devices, and it used to just sort of mean like if you're off doing other stuff or with your own, only your resources. But now when we say left to your own devices, we actually literally mean you're off touching your technology while somebody else is touching theirs. I was cleaning out a drawer, by the way, and I have a KNF Concept series polarizing filter or whatever. It is so dark. Like, I think if I put it on my camera, I would probably see F all. So I have no sense of what I'm going to ever even do with it, but I must have bought it while I was buying something else that it came with or something. And I was talking to a representative from KNF Concept because they're going to sponsor an upcoming video of mine they gave me like a backpack or something to look at. And I was saying, well, just so you know, I am an actual user of your products. I actually purchased with my own money your stuff. So it'll be a fun match. And they were like, oh, what? So I took a photo of all the weird assorted things that I've bought from that company. Younger people will have a totally different relationship to the expression left to their own devices. Yes, absolutely. Related, kind of a sort of tangent based on what you just said, Jack. My oldest kid, who will be 24 in June, my oldest kid says to me the other day, I'm canceling Spotify. I said, cool. They said, yeah, I bought a CD player. And I actually bought one of those ones where you could like rip the files and put them onto a CD. So I've been burning my own CDs. They said, really cool. I used to do that in the 90s. And they were like, yeah. And I bought a tape player too, although I don't have too many tapes yet. And I was like, what about vinyl? Like, didn't we try out vinyl? And they were like, yeah, it's just not useful for me. I was like, I know, but the audio quality of vinyl is better. Like, can't take it with me. Like, can't walk around with like a record player, man. And I was like, yeah, okay. I said, they came up with something for that, like an iPod. They bought this other thing that's a no-name brand, some Chinese knockoff of a knockoff of a knockoff for like 50-ish bucks that was on Walmart.com, a kind of MP3 player type thing that can do audiobooks and many other things. But they've decided they don't want any subscription media anymore. They're just sick of it. They don't watch Netflix. They don't any of that stuff. And I'm seeing this as a trend, and I'm seeing people kind of rebelling a bit against subscriptions, which, back to photography, that's the reason I canceled Lightroom and I ended up using Photomator, because in my mind, I was like, I think that Photomator is doing me a little bit better experience than Lightroom, because Lightroom, I'm just paying every month until I'm dead, whereas Photomator, I just buy it the one time. And if I want to update it, I can. But if I don't, then I don't have to. It just runs. Photomator is, I think, the one that used to maybe be called Pixelmator, and then Apple bought them or something. So, I mean, software as a service is a very appealing business model for business people, because you can track then monthly recurring revenue. And then you have ARR, annual recurring revenue. I do business when I'm not taking photos. And it's really good for businesses, and it's really good for banks and financial people. But for we mortals, paying a subscription to everything really starts to feel like a grind after a while. And we're not yet fighting back, because there's lots of things where we feel like we need that subscription. But boy, oh boy, it seems like younger people are fighting back on that and changing and just buying standalone things. 76 steps just got me for reaching for one of my classic bits of glass I go play with once the girls are gone to bed. A Pentagon 50 millimeter 1.8. I love the shape bokeh at f4. I'm still holding on to Lightroom for now. Yeah, I mean, Lightroom's a really great app. There's a lot of great support for it. There's all those presets that you could buy, although I've never bought any yet. Every now and again, there's a photographer out there on YouTube, and I'll go, I like what you've done. But they never seem to work great for me. But it's not, you've heard me countless times. I pretty much never poop on whatever someone's choice is. So I don't think Lightroom is bad. I think it's a great piece of software. I just kind of get tired of the monthly sub. Jack says, I wrote and sold some software back in the shareware days. I hated SaaS since it started. Yeah. No, I just spent 4 years working with a founder of a SaaS company. So I guess I'm part of the evil empire as well. But we also have done lots of open or shareware type stuff, open source. I don't know why I couldn't think of that for a second. I've started inspecting and looking at certain apps that are open source very specifically as replacements for SaaS. Where's my little list? Post is NoCodeDB, Cap, Strapi, and also this thing called Memori, MEMORI, which is an open source memory engineering add-on for AI. Because if you've ever talked to AI for enough time, it always just feels like you're talking to Dory in Finding Nemo. And you're like, you don't remember just 5 seconds ago? And it'll be like, no, of course I do. And you're like, well, then can you repeat what we were talking about? And it says no. Anyway, we're not talking AI today. As I'm getting ready to wrap up, though, any questions? Any questions from how I build my shows, what I do? Any questions kind of behind the scenes that you've always wondered, or something that's always just been like, anything I do that annoys you to death? Are there bits of my videos or whatever where you're like, man, I like everything about this guy except for X? I'm always up for hearing that. Or, is there anything else you want me to think about in the coming weeks? I will say that I have my plan for the rest of this series, the dented, but, I have to put this one down as I've done it. Dented, but still working. I have one. Oops. Where's the list of the ones that shows what I did? You don't have to be a camera wizard, which is one about going in auto mode. I have an idea called Slow Photography for a Too Fast Brain about vintage lenses. So 76 steps, at least we'll like that one. Photography from a car, and one called Photography from When You Can't Leave the House, and a few more that I'll keep to the vest for right now. Gord is heading out for a walk with the dogs and kids and camera. That sounds great. Can't wait to hear what you come back with. Have some fun snaps out there. Q343, right? So yeah, I have a bunch more of that series to go. This is all because the YouTube CEO said that the future of creators on YouTube better be series, and I was like, okay. Although I watch a lot of YouTube and I don't watch a lot of series, so I don't know. I get the feeling that it's kind of shenanigans. Hey, push a little like if you don't mind. Push a little like on this so that the dear YouTube robots know that I'm not a terrible person or whatever. And why don't we get on out of here? Thank you so much for your time. I haven't even recorded the next video yet, but I'll do it probably tomorrow in between other stuff. You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say, where's the damn end stream button? No, be good to yourself.